Welcome to the Good Enough Gaming Podcast, where a bunch of 30-something elder millennials talk about all things gaming and nerdy. We dive into all the shows, games, movies that we know that nerds love to indulge in. We celebrate our favorites, and we make fun of a few of the duds along the way. I'm your host, Kyle. I am joined by Jordan, Trevor, and Daryl. Welcome to this week's episode, which is entitled, I Got to First Base. I got a handheld.
I like it.
So the landscape of gaming is always changing and adapting to the ways that we use and create new technology and forms of entertainment. Recently, we have seen a rise in getting something tangible, girthy, and substantial in our hands.
Finish it, Devin. Finish it.
With lots of RAM. Yeah, that's right. We're talking about handheld gaming rigs.
Jesus.
So what is with the rise of these handhelds? What does that mean for the future of console gaming? Well, we aren't psychics, but we are pretty psyched to talk about what's coming and speculate about the future of gaming in our hands. Daryl, what the fuck?
That might be one of your best ones yet, Daryl. That was great.
That is really good.
I make sure to go into these like cold every week to not read it.
It's like a Christmas present every week.
Oh my god!
There are certain times where I get ideas when I'm writing the intros for these, and I'm like, "This is gonna be hilarious!" And this was one of them. I was like, "Kyle's not even gonna get through half of this before he's dying," and I was like, "And I nailed it."
It took me a second. I was like,
Yeah.
"Oh god, he's just making dick puns." It's the whole. It's just.
I would never. I don't know what you're saying. I would never do that.
I think he would sink so low.
We are a professional podcast.
How
We would
dare
never do
you
such
go
a
there
thing.
with your gutter minds?
Everyone get your CBC whisper voice going. This is a very professional podcast.
On today's episode, we're talking about the handhelds. So
There were so many directions I could have went with this intro, and
sorry, did you say so many erections?
Yeah, there's so many. I was like, all of them were funny. All of them. I was stoked. I was like,
Yeah.
Hard to choose.
Things in your hands are funny, I guess.
Yeah.
So, speaking of handhelds, if you're still with us here,
yeah,
we're
thanks for
actually
sticking
talking.
around.
We're actually talking about handheld gaming consoles, and the biggest one, the front runner, the ancestor to all of this. Looking at Game Boys and Game Gears, and looking into the
Game Gear.
different iterations going to the PSP and the Vita, and then Nintendo decided to push it a little bit more with the Wii U, which evolved into the
Sort of.
Yeah.
Handheld.
Wii U, that needed an
let's-
emergency exit console side.
To put it in there, let's be serious. The new PlayStation is essentially a Wii U.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Can't
basically.
leave the
Yeah.
fucking house with it. It's a
Wheel
Wii
cut.
U.
Yeah. You're not wrong.
but I mean, I will give Nintendo a lot of credit that they always push the boundaries for what a gaming console is. And
Yes.
with their introduction of the Switch, it forced companies to adapt and change. PlayStation just came out with their PlayStation Portal.
Garbage.
Portal. And there's a lot of shortcomings.
Oh, I need to write this down. I have a great meme for this. I'm writing this down for later.
Perfect. He's writing it down for later.
I love it.
And I mean, they've forced companies to be like, well, what can we do to either push the boundaries or make our gaming versatile enough that people can take it with them? Which spawned the Steam Deck and the Asus Ally.
I'm surprised. We haven't heard anything. I think I would be surprised if Xbox did something.
Mm-hmm.
Like with Microsoft,
they've kind of decided that they want to do like the cloud gaming. Like you can basically sync an Xbox controller up to a TV now.
Yeah.
Most TVs can access.
They have like the built-in Xbox TV, like those Samsungs or whatever.
Yeah.
They're built right into it now.
Yeah, so
Xbox
like
is leaning more towards fridges. They're doing more of the appliances. They're doing fridges, microwaves.
We joke, but I do have the mini fridge. I do have
I totally forgot you bought that.
I bought it. It was on sale at Walmart. I bought that thing.
The other thing too for Microsoft Xbox, like if you have an Ally or a Steam Deck, like if it's a Microsoft product, you can play it. So they're still getting money. So they're like, we don't need to do the hardware because our shit's on those systems.
We're just gonna make Game Pass accessible.
My name is Jordan.
Everything.
Yeah.
My name is Jordan, and I like to party.
My name's Trevor, and I also like to party.
So Jordan's our resident console tester, apparently, because Jordan had the opportunity. This was a very recent. If you know anything about Jordan and I, when we have our minds on something and we're trying to make a decision, we research the fuck out of everything.
Yeah.
The amount of conversation we had regarding Steam Deck versus Ally once it was announced was it took over for a few days where Jordan was like, holy shit, the pre-order's coming up. What do I do, guys?
Yeah.
And what did you settle on, Jordan?
So I settled on one of these bad boys. The ROG Ally. So I've got a little like protective case thing on it, which is quite comfortable.
Got to keep the logo visible, of course.
Of course, yeah. It is for ventilation. The logo is baked into some of the vents on the back. So
cool.
Cool.
Yeah, so I went with the ROG Ally. I've had a lot of Asus products over the years with other things, tablets and laptops, and even my old PC back in the day was Asus. So I've had really good success with the brand. I've had good luck with their stuff from a longevity standpoint, and the specs on this looked insane. Full 1080p screen, can play games at 120 hertz refresh rate. Like it's a Windows PC. So like for me, part of the advantage and kind of what drew me to it, I had an Xbox Series X for a while. Hadn't touched it in like 6 months. Just didn't really have much time to do more couch console gaming as for what I was doing. So
I mean, you have your whole setup in the basement, so
I do. Yeah, I'm very fortunate. I've got a nice setup in the basement at my place where I do all my gaming. But I still want something in handheld form that I can take with me on trips. Family vacations, work, travel, whatever it may be. So the fact that I could get this thing and I can download basically every fucking game launcher known to man, and you learn pretty quickly in the setup of this device just how many game launchers there are. You've got Steam, you've got GOG, you've got Epic, you've got EA or Origins, you've got
Blizzard.
You've got Blizzard,
you get into emulators.
Yeah, like fuck, and I know I'm missing another one too. Xbox, you've got Game Pass on there too. Like this thing can play fucking everything. So I've got all my PC games on Steam that have lied dead and dormant for years because I don't have a PC anymore. And then all the Xbox Game Pass stuff that I've really wanted to check out. It's all on one system, which is great. And I can take it with me anywhere. So it was kind of a no-brainer for me.
Yep.
Yeah. And I mean, don't get me wrong. Like for anybody that's new to like the handhelds, like gaming space, the ROG Ally is not an exclusive Windows PC handheld in this space. Like there are quite a few other options. Logitech even makes their own as well.
I forgot about that one.
Probably the most popular or the most like well known would be I'm going to butcher the name, but the Ioneo brand. But Ioneo does a lot of Windows PC handheld stuff. I think they just launched their newest one either in the last couple months or they're about to launch it. Anyway, the ROG is not exclusive by any means. And then you've got the Steam Deck, which is its own animal. It runs through Valve's network, fully integrated through Steam. It's a Linux-based system, so works a little bit differently. Yeah, of course it would be.
Fuck, it would be.
You can put Windows on Steam though. I know people that have kind of worked around the Steam Deck hardware, and they've been able to get Game Pass and whatever else that they want on it. So it is doable for sure.
Kind of Steam's alternative because what was the console that Steam was supposed to make?
The KF console.
Definitely not the KF console.
That's a throw. That's like, dude, that's like season 1 throwback. Seasoned. Seasoned.
I still want
21
one.
herbs and spices seasoned.
Yeah. When do we get one of those from like a pawn shop or something? There's got to be some out there.
I kind of want to check.
KFC sponsors our podcast. They can send us ones for free.
Take it out of the vault. Yeah.
It's a greasy business, but we're.
We'll keep our fingers, clean and licked. If we gotta, we'll do what we gotta do.
It's the reason that console didn't come in white, just grease.
Yes.
Yeah, I know. Like that's my biggest thing. I know when we were discussing with Jordan about this, looking at both consoles. When we were at GamesCon, I also got to play a bunch of demos on Steam Deck. There's a couple people that had their demos on Steam Deck, which honestly was a really cool way to do a demo. There was just some things about it that like the Steam Deck, similar to when Steam they were trying to do their console with that crazy ass controller that they had.
That was a weird controller.
Like the circular dial.
Yeah. And that's where the Steam Deck to me is just a bit odd because they've got those little pads for like a mouse, pads. Like if it's a mouse game. Yeah. So they've got a D-pad, joysticks, 2 mouse pads, and the buttons. And then you've also got obviously your R1, R2, L1, L2, and then you've got 2 extra buttons on each side on the back.
Yeah, you've got 4 paddles, basically.
And it's definitely made for obviously like average sized people. I'd say all of us are a little above average. We're all a bit bigger people. I found playing the demos. I found playing the demos, my hands were too big, and I kept clicking the back buttons on the Steam Deck.
You're right.
And it kept like pausing my game or like doing weird shit. I'm like, I'm not doing anything. It's just because they're so sensitive. Whereas compared to the ROG, like to me, that's just more of an Xbox or a PlayStation controller with a system in the middle, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know. To me, I think it was kind of an obvious choice that the ROG was just kind of a better thing. If you have a huge Steam library, like you're a Steam sale person, go to the Steam Deck, go crazy. Yes. Yeah. But if you, like Jordan, if you've got lots of stuff, you want to play emulators and stuff on the go, play all those games from Nintendo that they won't fucking re-release for us, get the ROG.
Yeah. Well, like I even forgot when I was going through and installing all the game launchers, like I had forgotten that I even had a bunch of free games on Epic. I had free games on GOG from years ago. And then like Amazon games, they released
that one too.
Oh, yeah, like they released free monthly games too. And so like between all the services, I probably had 25 to 30 games to play for free without even spending a dime yet. Mm-hmm. And so like that was the best feeling, was that I paid for a very expensive handheld machine, but all the games were right there ready to go. I just needed to install them. And then I didn't have to spend another dime if I didn't want to. So, that's one of the highlights for me, for sure.
Yeah.
I will say too, there's a lot of comparisons between the Steam Deck and the ROG. The one thing I've played both, I will say the ROG feels a lot better in your hands to play, especially longer term. It's not as wide of a handheld. Your hands are a little bit closer together. The weight is lighter as well. It's not as heavy, and it's a little bit skinnier. So for longer game sessions, whether it's on the couch or arms rested on a table or something, I get far less fatigue with this playing, which is really nice.
Is it lighter than the Switch?
No. So the Switch,
Switch.
Yeah. So, are you kidding me?
Wait a second.
No. You mean that amazing looking games that come out on the Switch that have the best graphics ever?
Fucking hamster just pedaling a bike in there.
Yeah.
Those games that are open world that don't ever have glitches of you falling through the map to the bottom and just a bunch of pixels.
That's a feature, Daryl.
What are you talking about?
It's the underworld. That's a feature of Tears of the Kingdom. That is a feature.
Yeah, Nintendo actively chooses to have their games run at 20 frames per second, no matter what.
Yeah,
this is good. That's just what they do.
The Nintendo good enough model.
Fine. Yeah, it's fine. Yeah, no, it's definitely bigger than a Switch. I actually had
they might get confused that we work for Nintendo.
Yeah, but like Trevor said, it is substantially more powerful than a Switch. It makes sense that it would be bigger. It's but like I said, it feels really good to play. It doesn't feel too we're just gonna keep making.
It's not too big. It's not too light. It's so powerful, you guys. It's so good.
Out of this episode with no context are going to just.
It's
Would you
light.
say it feels good on the whole?
It's Daryl. It's soft, but it still feels girthy. It's still
nice firm feels to it.
Yeah, it's got a nice firm. You can get a hold hand on it. You just get a full grip.
Maybe even two.
Jordan just
even
let
two.
the people know that
fills up my hand so well. It just fits in there like a glove.
It's not for all the time, but Jordan just wants to let everyone know that he is an ally.
Hello.
Hey. Oh God.
This whole episode is just one big dick joke. I can't.
Correct.
Daryl's intro set the tone.
It's ruined it for the rest of it.
Every time anyone says
you say
anything,
ruined it. I say it's made this episode amazing. But
enhance.
Yeah.
The one with the dick jokes.
Yeah.
It's in the computer?
I'd say our uncle would be very proud of how this episode is going.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's fair.
Shout out to Uncle Dave.
Yeah.
Yeah, go ahead, Trev.
I was going to say, did we want, but while we're now that we have sidetracked, do we want to take a break before we get to the next newest contender within this category?
Yes,
That's
we do.
A good idea.
Kyle, do you want to cue it? I don't know what it is.
I do want to cue it.
It's me.
Daryl's the problem. It's him. This week, we are leading into another round of us arguing about shit. The Fantasy Face-Off.
Fantasy Face-Off. Fight.
Welcome to Fantasy Face Off. If you're new, this is where I pick two figures or characters or anything from any realm that I want, and I pit them against each other in a battle to the death. And the guys have to decide who they think is the victor. And you, as an audience, get to interact with us on Instagram and Discord and tell us if we were right or if we were wrong. So let us know in any of our forms of social media if we got it right. And, otherwise, yeah, enjoy the battle.
Enjoy the arguing.
Yeah.
Enjoy Kyle being wrong.
Sometimes
again.
we agree on it wholeheartedly, but sometimes we don't. This one's way out there. But this is actually a fight that I've thought about for more than a decade on who would win. And I don't know if anyone's ever thought of pitting these two together, but this is where I'm at. Kyle, back to our WoW days. There is a character that kind of stood out to me. And then there's a movie franchise that I thought, like these two things just blended well together at the time. And so that's why they were so successful.
Is it the World of Warcraft movie?
No, because that was dog shit. This movie franchise is extremely successful. So I am pitting Arthas from World of Warcraft with Frostmourne, the Fallen King.
Yeah. I was going to have a follow-up question.
Okay. Versus Sauron with the One Ring.
Oh, shit.
Before it is cut off of his finger by the King of Men.
Shit, dude.
So it is two highly powered, ruined kings. Trying to struggle for power and kind of take over for their kingdoms. Not in the most righteous of ways, but two guys that definitely, once they had the power, came into some pretty fucking crazy stuff. So
the ruined king face-off.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
Two heavy hitters. I
see now if the thing that's sort of swaying me here is if it was just like Arthas, pre-corruption.
Yeah, it's not the same.
I would have been like Sauron. But Arthas with Frostmourne and I have to go Arthas.
Okay.
Arthas one-on-one with Sauron. One-on-one. No
mano y mano. No armies.
Mano y mano.
Yep.
I think Arthas has the upper hand, regardless of magic, because Frostmourne brings a lot to him as far as magical power is concerned.
Right.
Regardless of the One Ring and all that other bullshit.
Oh, those Lord of the Rings nerds are just seething right now.
Oh, yeah, they're fucking livid.
I am voting Arthas.
Okay, Arthas from Kyle. Jordan, what do we think?
Yeah, I think I'm kind of leaning Arthas as well. Unfortunately, he just happens to be from a universe that, I just think the combat and the magic and, the abilities that those characters have in the Warcraft universe are more well suited to combat. And, Sauron is just a little bit too grounded in the chunky armor fantasy setting type stuff. And so, yeah, I just think as powerful as Sauron is, I just don't think he has the mobility to keep up with Arthas.
Trevor?
It's a 3 for this week.
Oh, clean sweep.
Kyle
wins again.
You gotta think, right? Like Jordan said, you've got Sauron, who's more of a classic fantasy, very old world fantasy. I mean, Isildur took off. All you got to do is take off a finger. You got to take off the ring. That's all you got to do.
And that was larger than most people. Yes. He's swinging and clubbing through dudes no problem.
But Isildur, a mere man with a broken sword, did it.
That is true.
We were talking about Arthas, who is fucking jacked, has a crazy demon sword or whatever you want to call it. He's pretty much a dark paladin, right?
Yeah.
With powers and shit like that. So I mean, you got to go Arthas. He's no mere mortal.
Yeah.
Well, if the Fellowship is listening and you have arguments to tell us any different, please send them in because they definitely need your help. Sauron got a clean sweep fucked up by Arthas tonight.
Now that doesn't mean Sauron might not come back and like do some, Lord of the Rings shit.
True. Yeah, that's true.
At least in his first battle, he will be defeated. Yes, as he does from time to time.
If this ever turned into an argument, like in the movie Clerks 2, this will make me a happy man. So if you disagree with us, please send us an email.
We want to know.
DM us on Instagram. We would love to know.
Send a carrier pigeon.
Just take a hawk. Just take a hawk to Mordor.
Just take one of the golden hawks with your message to take you wherever you need to come talk to us.
Why don't you get on your unicorn fancy Shadowfax horse and run with great haste and let us know that we're wrong.
Or you could fly, you fools. And I love the Tolkien slander here. It's just
I mean, I love Lord of the Rings, don't get me wrong.
I love
this is a man who has been defeated before, or a being who has been defeated before by a man with a broken sword. Like literally the character you start with in Dark Souls. So I mean, let's be real here.
He's pretty powerful. He just caught him off guard. Isildur caught him off guard.
That's all it takes.
Sauron has no combat training.
Yeah, it's like
no
MMA.
Combat training.
Just one good slice.
That's it.
Doesn't even hit him. I mean, you got Frostmourne. Like, what if he gets fucking frostbite and his finger falls off? Ring's gone.
Done. Yep.
He's got to chill him.
It gets a little too chilly. Yeah, it gets a little chilly in there.
A couple toes, couple fingers, right?
This wins by frostbite.
Yeah.
Like, is he going to show up wearing really heavy duty
Canada Goose? Canada Goose.
Yeah, like, is he going to have Canada Goose on?
If he's prepared in his North Face gear, he's going to be fine. But if he doesn't have that on,
if he shows up in the fucking rags that he has in the movies, he's toast.
Oh God.
Oh my God.
Well done, gentlemen. Well done.
Yep.
Yeah, that was a good one.
I like that one.
So to bring it back around to what we're really talking about, recently PlayStation announced their own foray into the handheld gaming market with not such great reception. So they
did not understand the assignment.
No.
Didn't understand.
It is called the PlayStation Portal, which is essentially a larger screen sandwiched between two halves of a PlayStation controller, with no internal storage of its own.
It plays off of the PlayStation 5.
It's essentially just a remote play device.
Yeah.
Which makes no sense to me.
It's a large cell phone that has dual sense controllers on the sides. That's it.
Funny. So the best thing after this got announced, like a week later, someone did an announcement. They were like, this has all the great features and the haptics of the PlayStation controller. I was like, there are 3 games on PlayStation that actually use the fucking haptics. Like that is a mute point.
You don't need it.
It means nothing to me that you're like, it's got haptics.
It means nothing.
Okay, so you've got the demo of Astros, Returnal, and Ratchet and Clank are like the 3 games that have actually used those, and everything else just hasn't. So, who gives a shit?
You're right. I had said on our podcast account on Instagram, I went to a couple different posts about the PSP and commented, and one of the things that I like immediate to me is if you don't want to do like a full-blown storage handheld, at the very least allow this thing to download 1 game for offline play. Let me just do 1 at a time. I'm okay with that.
Do you know how much storage?
I think a lot of people
SD card now. Like
that's what
terabytes on an SD card.
The Switch has SD cards. Like you can like download everything onto an SD card. It's like that is such a nice facet for that handheld. But like, what the fuck were these guys thinking before launching this? Like this, whoever brought this to the board meeting needs to be fucking slapped across the face and like told to go rethink their whole life because
that meme where the guy gets
PSP.
the meme where the guy gets thrown out the
thing they could have
window.
done.
Yeah.
How do you go from like revolutionizing the handheld with the with the PSP and the Vita
PSP. Yeah.
to this?
Yeah.
What on earth were you thinking?
The funniest thing to me is like this makes me think really old school. Like, do you guys remember when the first Porsche Cayenne came out?
Yeah.
And someone's like, that just looks like you took the Porsche and like someone took it into Photoshop and just kind of like used like the stretch button. That's pretty much what this feels like. They're like, what if we just cut the controller and put a fucking screen in them?
Yeah.
But didn't they learn anything from the Wii U? We've compared it to that. And it's like the Wii U did terrible. Like,
did they not learn anything from the fucking Switch? Like, to me,
it did
it's just
so bad.
To me, the Switch is the template of like, you want a handheld that's going to perform and succeed? Do this.
Okay, my biggest thing is that if you think of the Switch and think of like what I would consider the travel test.
Yeah.
You know, you can take a Switch to the airport, you can take it on a plane, you can take it with you, and it's not cumbersome.
Yeah.
No.
Look at the Portal.
Yeah, it's all
the controller part of it alone.
Just gonna like,
how are you gonna pack that and carry?
How do you travel? Yeah, how do you travel with it?
hook that on all sorts of shit. Yeah,
exactly. Like that is not a console that can travel. That is which is its
not just physically, but technically it cannot travel.
No, technically it can't even.
It can't.
Yeah,
but that's the thing is like. You know, they keep talking about the convenience of remote play and you can connect anywhere. There is still a large chunk of society that doesn't have steady internet connection.
Yeah.
Like, unless you're sitting in your house in like a manicured environment that has perfect internet connection, this thing is going to be a fucking gong show. You know, even in preview events, they're like, yeah, this thing has like 0 lag input. And it's like, yeah, that's because you're in a designed room for this demonstration. Of course, it's going to fucking feel good there.
Yeah. I also wonder
what is the actual point of it when they already have the remote play app that you can hook a DualSense controller up to your iPad, to your laptop, to your PC. Yeah. You can play. You can already remote play from the PlayStation app on anything. You can buy the Backbone thing for your phone if you wanted to. That's going to do the exact same thing. It's way cheaper and it does the exact same thing. Like, what's the point of this?
Crazy pills.
Why did you do this?
They were literally like, let's give them the authentic controller feel and a dedicated big screen. But like, this has to come from someone had to do research and be like, 90% of our players literally never turn off their PlayStation and they always put it in sleep mode instead of power off. Because what you're on vacation, you'd be like, hey, when you come over to like feed my cat, can you just like turn on my PlayStation really quick? Because I want to play some games. As long as you're on Wi-Fi. Heaven forbid, what, you want to play this on a plane? What are you going to do? Pay the $80 for shit Wi-Fi and not be able to use it?
Because I can tell you, since like like after Fire Emblem Three Houses, like after that, I basically bought the Switch to play that. Like, that's what the only time now that I really play the Switch is if something I need to play comes out on, which isn't very much anymore. But like, I play it on the plane.
Yeah.
I play it on like when I'm traveling on the plane, that's when I'm playing my Switch. Like it's an on-the-go device. I can play anything offline or online. It doesn't matter. Like I can go hook up to the hotel Wi-Fi if I need it, but it's not likely. Like
and you don't.
It has no standalone title planned. It has no functionality for that planned. It has no like internal memory system to house a game. Why?
I really hope this is just like the tech demo version, and then they go, oh, but we're like, because this is $199. Like it's a relatively cheap device.
Yeah, it's $200 American. Yeah.
So I'm hoping in like a year we get like the $299, $399 version, which is a PSP. Like if you have, if you bought the digital PS5 or you just have a PlayStation Store account, download games similar to the Ally or whatever. Maybe it runs on slightly lower graphic settings so you can play everything. Or even if they say, hey, this game is too big, you cannot play it on this system. I'm not playing the 800 gigabyte Call of Duty on my fucking handheld.
Not likely.
But if we're gonna play Atlas Fallen, I'm gonna play Astros or Ratchet and Clank, like a 20 gig game. Like, let me just download it from my PlayStation Store and run it at whatever you can run it at. But yeah, this makes no sense.
Even if it was just PlayStation exclusive only games. We can only optimize PlayStation exclusives to work on this handheld, but you can download them and take them anywhere you want to at any time. Like even people would have been okay with that because it had offline play.
Yeah.
And that's the biggest argument I've seen from every single thread on this thing is it's like 2 points. Daryl already hit it on the head. The company Backbone makes a clip-on controller to a phone for $100 that does the exact same fucking thing that this does. And it's half the price. So either buy that or the issue is it's the remote play thing. Like I'm not going to sit at home and be like, I don't have access to my TV. I guess I'm going to pull out this giant fucking, PlayStation screen. It's like, no, if I really wanted to play.
Like, what did they make this for? Is this for the guy that like has to hide playing video games from his wife, so he's got to go hide and play this thing on the shitter for an hour? Why? There's just no valid reason that they made this thing.
My only other reasoning for it that you mentioned, Daryl, is if you have a multi-child household, and obviously, like Kyle, I don't think Kyle would ever buy each of his kids a PlayStation, right?
No.
My only thought is, hey, it's their turn. You can have the handheld, so you could go to your room, do whatever. You can log in and play your games via the handheld, and we just need one system. But it still runs into the similar problems. Like, I have this even with, like, Daryl and I kind of share the console games a little bit, and my wife. When my wife logs in, she has like her own system set up where she cannot, in a family setting, she cannot play my games in some scenarios because she doesn't have she has to have her own PlayStation account or her own PS Plus account, right? Just like, it's the same fucking console. Just let me play the game, right? Unless you have the disc. So there's a couple other like background things here that just don't make sense to me, but that's the only other time I'm like, hey, you've got a console, you get one or two of these things, send your kids to the room, be like, you can go play some games for a bit. I'm using the console. Kyle has his gaming time too. And that to me is the only thing. But like for travel, useless.
It's useless. Yeah. If you were to take it back, we mentioned the PS Vita very briefly. Like, to me, the only reason, two things, the reason why that console failed. One, proprietary memory cards,
little tiny discs,
fucking stupid.
Yeah,
a 32 gigabyte proprietary card cost $100. Like, fuck, just give us micro SD cards like the Switch and call it a day. And then the other thing is because of that, they had such a slow adoption rate from their fans because of the price of the cards. So after a couple of years, they just stopped supporting the handheld. They stopped making games for it, and they stopped trying to push, new powerful stuff to that handheld. Like, if you just did a fucking PS Vita 2 version 2 or 2.0 and just said, hey, this thing can do micro SD cards from day one. We will guarantee that we're going to support this system for the next 6-7 years.
That's the argument now with the Steam Deck and the Ally. I don't even think you need to talk about supporting the system because they're powerful enough just to play the mainstream games. You don't have to make these these secondary offshoot like mobile version esques of these like mainline games.
You don't have
to. Do you want to play Do you want to play Grand Theft Auto? Fine, play the full version of Grand Theft Auto. Play whatever PlayStation app game there is, right? Like you don't need to make these, mini disc versions,
No.
Well,
crap
and that's
versions
my
of games.
And that's my point, is if this had enough storage on it to say, listen, if you want to play one game offline, you can download one game at a time. You won't need to connect to an internet connection to verify the license
for 30 days or whatever.
Yeah, you can play it whenever you want to offline, and it's going to be capped at 1080p, 60 hertz. You're not going to be able to get 4K, holy shit package. Nobody would care because they'd be like, hey, I can play 1080p, 60 FPS
on the plane,
and I can play it on the plane. Done.
Yeah.
Take my $300. Like, the fact that this has no internal storage was the biggest fucking blunder. Like, how many boardroom meetings did they go through where not a single fucking person was like, hey, I think maybe we should look at internal storage.
How does this actually work?
Like, I'm going to challenge this guy to a duel. Like, I'm going to smack him across the face with a glove, and I'm going to challenge him to a duel because, like, when I win, I get his job because I have way better ideas. Like,
when I win, I get his job.
I just don't know how this gets approved through the multitude of levels
of Sony
meetings and fuck, even in play testing, you can't tell me that none of their play testers that tested this system was like, hey guys, pretty cool hardware, but the fact that I can't play this offline is a deal breaker.
I don't get it. I don't know how this passed. I don't know how this became a thing. It does not resonate with me at all. This is Sony's biggest L in a while. This is
in a long time. Yeah.
Well, the funny thing now too, going back to the Ally,
it's gonna flop.
Yeah, going back to the Ally, a lot of PS exclusives are now going to Steam.
Yeah.
You're just making
with varying levels of success.
Correct. I mean, they'll fix them eventually, but you can still get them.
But I can buy those and play them offline wherever the fuck I want to.
Yeah.
And that's the difference.
Yeah.
Right. Like. This handheld will either go on sale in the first year because it doesn't sell, or the larger issue is there's going to be millions of people that buy it just because they see Sony and they're like, fuck, I got to buy it. And then within 2 years, to Trevor's point, they're going to realize that they fucked up. And they're either going to come out with a version 2 or they're just going to stop supporting it.
Yeah.
And so you spend a couple $100 on something that after 2 years is just going to be obsolete. Yeah. What sense
what am I supporting? The remote app that I already have built into every other device possible? Yeah. Is that all this thing runs? Is just the remote app at a nicer rate?
Yeah, just a widget. That's all it is.
Dude, I can download the PlayStation Remote Play app on my fucking Ally.
Yeah.
And I can play and I can play it on there.
Make any sense.
Not even Steam. Even worse. It's why?
It just doesn't make any sense.
Entirely redundant.
I was so excited to hear that Sony was potentially going back into the handheld space because I have a Vita.
Yep.
And I adore that system. It is so underrated. That system is amazing. I could talk about it forever. But I was so excited that they were maybe going to bring something like that back. And then to get a remote play online only thing, it just doesn't make sense.
When was the PS? So just to preface, when was the PS Vita made? When was that one launched?
I think it was 2010 or 2011, somewhere.
For those that don't know, the PSP Vita has a better screen than the original Switch. It has a better functional screen and system.
I didn't know that.
Than the Switch.
The original Vita had an OLED screen.
Yeah,
it was the only hand.
Yeah.
Okay, 2012.
Yeah.
It was the only handheld at the time that had an OLED screen, and that thing,
it was ahead of its time.
Yeah,
ahead of its time. underappreciated by the company by making proprietary pieces. Every time anybody does that, it doesn't bode well long term.
Doesn't work. No.
So like you ran into problems right away with it, but like as in terms of a handheld system, set the fucking tone. Set the curve like for what it is now. We have to pay homage to it. It definitely helped.
And
so how do you go from setting the tone?
Competed with Nintendo.
Yeah, like how do you set the bar like that?
The DS and everything.
Then drop it so badly with this hunk of shit that's about to come out and be absolutely pointless.
This is the equivalent. I would call this the equivalent of when Nintendo's like, "We've got something big news, guys," and everyone's like, "Oh my god, is it the Switch 2? What is it?" And they're like, "It's the Switch OLED, and we've done nothing."
Yeah,
and everyone's just like,
"Yeah,
what the fuck are you doing?"
Yeah.
We made a slightly larger screen on a system that does the exact same thing as before.
Yeah.
An OLED screen, we gave you an Ethernet port, and we gave you a new kickstand on the back.
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
More durable.
No one asked.
Hardware?
Yeah.
Hardware? What hardware?
Yeah.
What hardware? Yeah.
No one
asked. Apparently, we're getting a new Nintendo next year. Apparently, the next thing.
That's what they're saying. Yeah,
that's whatever it is. It's apparently coming out next year.
Hinted at for the last year and a half. I've been waiting for my first Switch.
Whatever it is,
and my hair has just disappeared. It's just gone.
Yeah. Whatever it is, like at this point, like Nintendo makes a ton of terrible business choices, in my opinion, by never letting anything go on sale and not protecting any old titles or not letting us emulate what we want or like
and
whatever.
Shit's never backwards compatible most of the
nothing
time.
Is. It's like they've gate-kept their own games for whatever reason from the people. Yeah. It makes zero sense.
Nintendo's on a weird like cycle though. Like their console cycle seems to be a lot faster than others
until this time.
Like
until this
the
time.
Switch,
until the Switch has been around.
Yeah, that's 6 years.
Yeah,
that's a long ass time.
Most are running on a 7-year cycle.
Feel like it.
Yeah,
the PS4 to the PS5 was 7.
Yeah,
so like it's not that crazy, but
it's no longer the front runner of like pushing the envelope.
Yeah, especially when people are asking for
whatever this next one is.
Yeah.
Whatever this next one is, I hope it's absolutely incredible, and I hope that it like. I hope
it's successful. Yeah,
I do too, because I'm like, okay, if Sony's going to dabble back into this, if they're going to go into this, because Nintendo leaned in on what they were successful at in different stages and just push them together. Like Nintendo's Game Boy, revolutionary, absolutely amazing. And then you got into, they had consoles and they had the handheld and they just blended them together. And we're like, you know what? Our next thing is going to be both. It's going to be a console and a handheld, and it's going to function both ways, and it's going to do both things. And it's going to be revolutionary. And honestly, the Switch kind of was. It kind of was revolutionary.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So
like the accessibility for gaming that the Switch created.
Yep.
Like second to none.
Just needs some more horsepower under the hood. That's all.
Yeah, just 100%.
Yeah. It just needs more power.
This PSP is the equivalent of Sony copying when the Wii came out with the motion controls. This is the PlayStation Move of portable consoles.
Yeah.
But they're way late copying it because they're copying the Wii U, which was a hunk of shit as well. Like, terrible device, useless, flunked, made the Wii inconsequential. Like
to me, this is
we want to forget about this. They made the Switch, and everything was better.
Yeah.
So whatever Nintendo's next move is, make it great and make Sony make a better choice.
Yeah. The PlayStation Portal is a system that would it feels like it should have been released when Remote Play was added in the PS4 era.
Yeah,
like as soon as Remote, like when that feature was added, now you give somebody a reason to use it with this new handheld.
The PlayStation Portal viable is if they got rid of the Remote Play app. And like that was like the only thing. But
big news.
I don't think they're going to do that.
That doesn't exist.
They completely just took the PS Plus system and were like, "Hey guys, guess what? Inflation." Right. So I can see them. I can see them doing that. Like either like if you don't own this device to get into the PlayStation app, you're going to have to pay money, right?
Yeah.
Like I can see that. I can see that. Fuck you down the road a couple miles, and it's coming.
You're not. You're honestly not wrong, and it scares me that you're not wrong.
We're gonna save this clip for later, just in case
for posterity's sake.
When I just look at the rise of handheld gaming as a whole, and like obviously you've got the Switch crushing it. The Steam Deck so far has been incredibly successful, and you've got all these other Windows PC handhelds, coming out of the woodwork. There's so much more competition in this space than there's ever been before. And to completely lay a fucking egg like Sony has with this, like it baffles me. I don't get it. I just don't get it.
You had to like halt production of PS5 because you were short on parts and you're like all these things. And so you're worried about chips and then you're like, you know what? We're going to release this thing. Yeah. Everybody will be so happy about it.
Yeah.
Just anybody with any critical thinking skills is going to look at this and be like, I'm not buying that. That's a piece of shit. Why the hell do I want this?
The only reason I'd buy this at this point is like some sort of like resell collector's item shit. Like stash this.
They'll be on it. So you're fucked. You're not going to get one. Like you don't have robots programmed already to buy one, so you're fucked.
Right.
Like, but yes, that's the only reason.
But don't worry, I'm not paying the surplus Kijiji price for this. I'm going to laugh at anybody that like goes to rebuy this off of anything for a surplus price because
if you're buying this
buy this as like a collector's item, sit on it for 20 years wrapped.
Yeah.
I mean, sure.
Kind of like the Virtual Boy for Nintendo back in the 80s. I mean,
good luck on that, holding that stock, but
I don't even think it's going to be
the only thing.
I just think it's going to be worth nothing.
The only thing that's going to enrage me more about the system is in like a month, they're going to make an announcement and be like, look at these 8 new colors we made for the PS Portal. And I'm just going to fucking lose it. Not for the PS5, but for the PS Portal, we've got 20 new colors coming your way, and I'm just gonna fucking snap a controller in half.
Just start fucking swinging.
Hey, Trevor, remember, left hand anger.
Yeah.
Left hand anger.
Yeah.
I played sports, so I'm pretty good with my left hand.
Yeah, it's just like
seriously destroyed that controller. It's not a problem.
No. So like I've had my ROG Ally for 2.5 months. I've used that more than I've used a Switch in 2 years.
Yeah.
I've used it more than I've ever used the remote play feature from PlayStation in it's been almost 10 years of remote play. If you go back to like the PS4 days.
I used the remote play a lot.
That was for Mortal Kombat.
Yeah, you had Mortal Kombat problems.
I don't want to talk about where I used it, but I used it a lot.
Yeah.
I do recall Jordan doing a lot of what was that Marvel game?
Midnight Suns.
That's the one. Yeah.
Yeah. So I played that's probably the most I've ever used remote play. But the only reason I did is because that game isn't quick twitch movements. I don't have to worry about input lag, internet connection. If it's a little laggy on a button press, who gives a shit? It's a turn-based strategy game, so it's not a huge deal, right? I just like with things like the Steam Deck kicking ass and so many people jumping on that. I think more and more people, once they're able to get their hands on the ROG, Best Buy's, they're installing a bunch of like demo units at their stores for people to try it
demo
out.
Units, nice.
Yeah, we haven't seen like the old N64 GameCube one
with the big like braided cord to the
and like the fish bowl like plastic cover on the console. You can hear the turbojet fan of a GameCube going on there.
Because their ventilation in it was just shit.
Yeah,
just terrible. Yeah. So like it's just there's less and less reason for you to spend money on stuff like the PlayStation Portal.
Yeah,
it's a
and honestly
product.
too, like
that is useless.
Part of the reason why the Switch does as well as it does is because of the games.
Yep.
You can't play those games anywhere else. And so even though it is an underpowered system, where are you going to play Mario Kart and all that?
Yep.
The system was affordable, it was
friendly,
versatile, and
it's easy to use.
It had easy to use games, and like just look at, you basically got 2 controllers when you bought the system, because even the half controller still functioned as singular controllers. So like when you look at what that was for a price point, that thing knocked it out of the park. So like I don't get this move. I
will say, like, with the Switch, one of the best parts of that system is just the plug and play. Like, you can pull that Switch out of the box from the store, put in a game, and go. Like, you know, as much as I love my ROG Ally, that thing was like a day and a half of setup and installing games before I could even fucking play it. And like, I like to think of myself as kind of a techie guy. And even for me, I was like, holy fuck. Like, have I gone through every possible setting that I need to make sure that this thing is optimized to you know, as good as it can be? And like, I was watching YouTube videos and I was watching unboxings and like trying to make sure that I was doing everything correctly. And so like, there's a learning curve there. And you got to give kudos to the Switch, man.
Yep.
There's no learning curve with that thing. You can fucking you're good to go.
I just hope all this competition, the Switch 2, I hope it's real, because I would really like to get one at some point. And I hope this makes Nintendo realize that they have to put better technology in their system, because it's available. It's readily available.
Yeah.
Put it in, you know, beef it up, make it more powerful, allow your Nintendo games to be better. Right? Like, so you can add more stuff, better frame rates, better just general games overall. And then like, that would get me right back into Nintendo.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, they've even signed a deal with Activision and Xbox. Xbox has said the next 10 years of Call of Duty is supposedly coming to Nintendo platforms. I don't know how that's fucking possible.
Call of Duty Mobile? Like,
like, I don't know how that's
Switch
feasible. But again, if you know, if they've made that deal, that's a good sign for what's to come with like a Switch version 2.
It's got to be able to run it.
They would have had to have at least like notified them of what
there's got to be some
potential of the next consoles. Like, there's
got
to be some stipulation.
They know
meetings, right? Like,
they know what the Switch 2 is capable of, and the only way that they make that deal is knowing that they can get Call of Duty to run on it. So I that's got to be a good sign.
I think they're just going to call it the Switch 2 or the Switch U,
because like they haven't,
or they're going to do the Wii U thing and call it the Switch U.
No, it'll be the Switcheroo.
Switcheroo. Like I feel like it's going to have a brand new name. Like it's going to look different. It'll be different.
It's going to be the Swatch.
I have this. They never call it anything. It wasn't the Super Nintendo, then the Super Duper Nintendo. It was
I mean, I would have played that. That sounds cool.
I would have played that too.
I would have.
It was the N64, then it was the GameCube, then it was the Wii.
Yeah.
Like, it'll be something else. It'll be called something else. I feel like I just don't think that's on brand for Nintendo to call it the Switch 2. But whatever it is, I hope it's fucking incredible.
Yeah.
And I hope it makes Sony just like seethe at their next board meeting. Be like,
that was dumb.
Why didn't we think of that? It's like, because we listened to fucking Chuck back here who gave us this dog shit piece of junk that we tried to sell for $200 a pop to everybody. And it's like, Chuck, you're fired. You're fucking done.
It's the last time Chuck takes an idea from his fucking 6-year-old at home.
Yeah.
You idiot.
Yeah.
Fired.
So I know we could rip on Sony forever, but I think
got heated. Got to do some yoga.
Even though we're like massive supporters, and I have like every PlayStation in my living room.
I've been a Sony guy for decades, and
this is so hard.
Calls it like
so hard for me.
This is bad.
This might be
terrible.
A first instance of a not good enough.
Correct.
Sony, it's not good enough.
Not good.
Asus and Steam Deck, good enough.
Good enough. Sony, Portal, Not good
You
enough.
Not
fucked
good
up.
enough.
Thanks for tuning in to this week's episode. Make sure to follow us on Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube for more content. We also invite you to write an email or join us on Discord to talk about anything from our episodes or something else you would like to discuss in the future. Please subscribe to the Good Enough Gaming podcast on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or wherever else you listen to your podcasts. And remember, we might not be great, but we are good enough.